We already saw this coming, guys. With affirmative action now being possibly a thing of the past, there's a new thing that we're going to have to look at, and that is a participation trophy just to go to college. You can't make this up. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of, you guessed it, Joel Davis Media Network. I'm your host, Joel Davis. If you guys haven't heard, but before I say that, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell up top, and please like and share if you are on board with the content and everything that I'm saying so far. Now, with that being stated, let's jump into what's going on here. So you guys probably have heard the news around the world, just like what happened with the abortion. The justices have outlawed affirmative action in college admissions in its new landmark decision. Now, a lot of people are excited, conservatives like myself, libertarians, independents, halfway is there, but your progressive liberals are screaming racism. This is now trying to prevent black people from going to college, which is a total lie. I'm going to read a little excerpt of what is said in the New York Post about this decision, and then we'll go from there. The Supreme Court struck down affirmative action programs at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina Thursday, ruling that both institutions were in violation of the 14th Amendment and federal civil rights law. The decision essentially ends the practice of overt racial consideration in higher education, admissions, and overturns for all intents and purposes the High Court's 2003 ruling in Grutter versus Bollinger were found that the colleges could consider race as one factor in the admission process to achieve a diverse student body. Now, eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in the majority opinion, and the Equal Protection Clause we have accordingly held applies. Without regard to any differences of race, color, or nationality, it is universal in its application. Now, the Harvard and UNC programs has been first challenged in 2014 by Students for Fair Admissions, a group founded by conservative activist Edward Bloom. SFA had contended the colleges and universities can use other race-neutral ways to assemble a diverse student body, including by focusing on social conscious status and eliminating the preference for children of alumni and major donors. At Harvard, applicants are initially scrutinized by a first reader who gives the prospective student a numerical score in 6 categories: academics, extracurricular, athletic, support, personal, and overall, taking race into account for the final number. Admissions subcommittees who cover particular regions of the world make recommendations to the full 40-member admission committee and consider race at that step of the process as well. The full committee also discusses the relative breakdown of applicants by race when deciding who to tentatively admit. During a final winnowing process, 4 factors are considered: legacy status, recruited athlete status, financial aid eligibility, and race. And the last factor being a determinative tip for a significant percentage of all admitted African Americans and Hispanic applicants, according to the court. At UNC, first readers are required to consider the applicant's race as a factor in their review. Blum and SFFA has argued that the process unfairly shuts out qualified students, many of them white and Asian, of the basis of ethnicity. The Chief Justice concluded his opinion by saying that while colleges can consider an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, by, be it though discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise. Universities may not simply establish through application, essays, or other means the regimen we hold unlawful today. Students must be treated based on his or her experiences as an individual, not on the basis of race. Robert went on, many universities have for long done just the opposite, and in doing so, they have concluded wrongly that the touchstone of an individual identity is not challenges, tested skills built, or lessons learned, but the color of their skin. Our constitutional history does not tolerate that choice. Now, Robert has joined in his opinion, which exempts Americans' military academics by all five of his colleagues on the court's conservative wing: Justice Samuel Alito, Justice Clarence Thomas, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and Justice Neil Gorsuch. In his concurrence, Thomas wrote that the Constitution continues to embody a simple truth: two discriminatory wrongs cannot make a right. Both Harvard and UNC have a history of racial discrimination, but neither have even attempted to explain how their current racially discriminatory programs are even remotely traceable to their past discriminatory conduct, added Thomas, one of two black justices on the current court. Nor could the current race conscious admissions group programs, take no account of ancestry, at least for Harvard, likely have the effect of discriminating against some of the very same ethnic groups against which Harvard previously discriminated. In example given, Jews and those who are not a part of the white elite. He added, all the while, Harvard and UNC asked for us to blind ourselves to burdens imposed on the millions of innocent applicants denied admissions because of their memberships in a current disfavored race. The Constitution neither commands nor permits such a result. The court's three liberals, Sonia Sotomayor, Alina Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, dissented in the UNC case, while Jackson, a graduate of Harvard College and Harvard Law School, as well as a former member of the University Board of Overseers, recused herself from the case involving the Ivy League school. Jackson accused the majority of let them eat cake obliviousness and announced color blindness for all by legal fiat, but deeming the race irrelevant in law, but not to make it so in life. The newest justice added, and having so detached itself from the country's account or actual past and present experience, the court has now been lured into interfering with crucial work that UNC and other institutions of higher learning are doing to solve America's real problems. No one benefits from ignorance. Although former race-linked legal barriers are gone, race still matters to the lived experience of all Americans in numerous ways, and today's ruling makes things worse nor better. So, Thomas responded to concurrence by accusing Jackson of depicting African Americans as a perpetual inferior caste. Such a view is irrational, is an insult to individual achievement, and cancerous young minds seeking to push through barriers rather than consign themselves to permanent victimhood. Now, 9 states already prohibit any consideration of race in admission to their public colleges and universities: Arizona, California, which is shocking to me, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, and Washington State. So that's interesting. And I'm going to stop here. I'll put a link in the description below. That is interesting that they say that the woke states, California, Washington State, New Hampshire, and Michigan actually don't believe in the affirmative action practice. They actually go by the skills or the grades of what the student is coming to the table with, which I think that what you would want, right? You wouldn't want someone to be in your program where it's going to be very tough because a lot of these schools are very tough. I mean, you just can't whiz through like it's nothing. These are very elite schools. Their curriculum is very tough. But let's go to what Biden said. Oh, Biden, who also says and gave his recommendation and his remarks about the whole poverty and all this stuff.
What I propose for consideration is a new standard where colleges take into account.
So I'm going to play this clip it here, and this is fair use right here on what Nutty Buddy is saying, and I will tell you my thoughts on that.
What I propose for consideration is a new standard where colleges take into account the adversity a student has overcome when selecting among qualified applicants. Let's be clear. Under this new standard, just as was true under the earlier standard, students first have to be qualified applicants. They need the GPA and test scores to meet the school's standards. Once that test is met, then adversity should be considered, including students' lack of financial means, because we know too few students of low-income families, whether in big cities or rural communities, are getting an opportunity to go to college. When a poor kid, maybe the first in their family to go to college, gets the same grades and test scores as a wealthy kid, whose whole family's gone to the most elite colleges in the country, and whose path has been a lot easier. Well, the kid who faced tougher challenges has demonstrated more grit, more determination, and that should be a factor that colleges should take into account in admissions.
All right, and I disagree with a lot of that. Let me tell you why I disagree with that BS he just said. Because at the end of the day, man, it's all about what you bring to the table when you go and apply for these colleges. Each college gives you what they're looking for, what your scores need to be. You should be striving, or if you're a parent that know your child is serious about going to college, you should be striving with your child on what they need to do, what they need to study, how to prepare themselves to get the decent test scores to get into these colleges. And that's just facts. No one talks about that part. No one wants to talk about that part. Everybody wants to talk about, well, what about the kid that's going through poverty and poor? Well, shit, I'm poor, and I went to school, and I got it from out the mud. So I don't want to hear that shit. There's a lot of people that was poor that goes to school and get it out the mud. That's not the point. The point of the matter is, can you do the work in the college that you're applying for? Okay? Can you do the work? Do you have the skill to maintain the pressure? And not to mention, too, a lot of these colleges are lowering their standards to get more people in the college as diversity. If you look at the numbers right now, and it will tell you how many graduates there are in the U.S. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this one, since people have lost their minds lately. And now this is from last year's numbers. This is 2021. Let me see if I can get this. I might have to go to Google. Hold on, guys. I'm going to go to Google right quick and find this. Because I'm trying to pull this up, this data. I think there's a lot of things let's pull this up. All right, number of college graduates by race, or ethnicity. Now, we already know that there are 2,410,070 white Americans that are currently going to college right now. Their graduation percentage rate is 62.2%. We also know in African American, we got 452,760 of these kids that are in school. They have a 40.5% rate. Asians in America right now, they didn't give a real number. I think they fall on the multicultural side, maybe. I don't know. But I think they could, but I know that they got 69.3% graduation rate. So if you look at all of this, the problem is the graduation rate. Why do we have so low graduation rate at 40.5%? I can answer that for you very clearly. It's because we have not invested into education like the other coaches have. Because in these liberal cities, we have a lot of black leaders that are liberal progressive, and the only thing they want to do is create BS programs to keep thugs hanging around and not try to get the good kids in a situation where they can be successful. That is why. That is why we are at the point that we are. That is why now colleges has lowered the standards for people to get in there. Because look at our rate. And it's not only just with us as black Americans, it's also with the Hispanic American platform as well. Because you look at the Hispanic, they're at 41.5% guaranteed graduation on a 5-year plan. I mean, Asians and white folks is the only two that got it figured out. Sad but true. I mean, you just gotta, people just don't understand that this affirmative action thing has done nothing but been a thorn on everybody's side. It really has. It's been a thorn on everybody's side. Because you think about it, and I'm going to keep it 300 about why affirmative action been a thorn on everybody's side. When it first was started, affirmative action was to make sure that it was in place to allow minorities to have a shot to be successful in whatever they wanted to do in life with college, whether it was business, whether it was being a lawyer, doctor, or whatever have you. Okay? Because there was a lot of black Americans back then that had the test scores, have the intelligence, but couldn't get financial aid. Or they had the financing and stuff, but you had alumni that were pushing for their children, especially the ones that were white, pushing for their children to get first pick. Fast forward now, we're in 2023. Shit has changed. Excuse my expression. It's not the same anymore. It really not. It's very rare that you get into a situation where someone looks you dead in your eye and say, oh yeah, you got denied to go into college because of the color of your skin. Usually it's because you did not fit the criteria of what the college is asking for you to do when it comes to your grades. No one wants to admit that no more. No one wants to talk about that anymore. Everybody wants to make it where you hold my hand because I'm a minority and let me get to this prestige college and fail. And let's say, for instance, that you get there and they pass you along. When you get into real life, you fail. How do you fail? Because you can't do your job properly. Because you got to relearn all over again. And it makes you realize, oh my God, I wasted all my years in college to do something that I still can't even grasp while I'm on the job. This is why this is a nightmare. This is why I support what the justices have done. No one is not stopping black folks going to college but us. We've always been in our own way. And until we wake up and quit listening to this, the white man behind me and he's controlling my life BS story, guess what? We're going to continue to be this way. We are free, independent thinkers. Been there from a long time. The problem is we don't want to take accountability. The problem is we don't want to fix anything. Also, the major problem is that when it's brought to our attention, we don't know how to handle it. And it's just facts. Anyway, guys, get in the comment section. Tell me what you think about the new ruling of affirmative action. Do you think that it is a great idea that colleges stop using it and get back to what they used to do based upon your intelligence? Or do you think that this is a ploy to make sure that all minority people don't have a chance to get ahead? Please, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And again, if you love this video, please like and share it. And I hope you do subscribe. With that being said, I'm out.